Hey guys, my name is Mike, and I used to be the head bouncer for one of the biggest nightclubs in New York City. I worked there over 5 years, and I was technically our head narcotics officer, so I was the liaison between the NYPD and the club to, um, to work with any kind of narcotics interdictions that we had to deal with. Uh, Anything, just generally low-level drug dealers to some of the more sophisticated gangs, the Bloods, the Crips, any kind of organized crime that was trying to get their drug dealers into our club, because if they got in there, they'd be able to make out with a lot of money. So I'll talk about those stories later on. But right now, I just wanted to talk with you about how do bouncers spot fake IDs? How did bouncers like myself and my team, how were we able to spot punk ass kids trying to come in with fake IDs? And it wasn't just kids, you had some criminals too who they didn't want to use their real names or something in case they got caught or whatever, that they wouldn't get run by the police later on and find out that they got warrants or that they're pedophiles or something, not supposed to be in that kind of, not supposed to be in an environment, felons or whatever, not supposed to be around alcohol. So and this is a big club, right? So we're talking 2,000 to 8,000 people a night. You had only a handful of guards to manage that many people. I'm talking like 10 to 30 guards at any given point, depending on the size of the crowd that we were expecting. So we had to deal with a lot of people. I mean, I had hundreds of tiny conversations with people every night. But I digress. Let's just talk about the whole fake ID thing. So the number one reason that we can spot your fake ass ID is before we even see the ID, we'll know that it's a fake. Why? Because not only do you look young, but you're nervous already. You walk up to the bouncer and you're waiting in line, and before you even walk up to the bouncer, sometimes we'll spot you far enough back. We could tell right away that kid's a kid, right? We could tell he's young or whatever, because especially in a big club, the bigger the club and the more seasoned the guards are, the less chance you're going to get through with your fake ID. We're going to spot you from far away. Can already tell that you're young because we see thousands of people per night. Per night, we see thousands of people. And if we've been doing this for weeks or months or years, we've seen hundreds of thousands of kids trying to pass, hundreds of thousands of people, and many of them being kids trying to pass fake IDs. So we're going to spot you from far away and tell that you're young. But let's say you don't look that young or whatever. We can tell that you're nervous, right? We say, can I see your ID or whatever, have your IDs ready. And you walk up and you give us your ID, but you give it to us like, you kind of pass it to us. You're not looking at us. You're kind of shifting. I'm trying to talk to you, and your eyes are all over the place. And I'm saying, hey, where are you from? How's your night? And everything's fine. Yeah. And you just kind of like give me this scared look, and you're nervous, and your answers are a little weird. You're acting weird. You're not acting normal, like everyone else that I've been talking to. Most people coming to a club, they're excited, they're a little drunk, they're a little high, but they're acting somewhat normal, like they're just going out partying, just part of the fun and excitement. But if you're acting nervous or you're acting just a little funny, we're gonna tell right away. You can tell. I can tell, and that served me through my corporate work and all of the other jobs I've had since then. But definitely my career works when it comes to business negotiations. But we have generally, a good bouncer will have high emotional intelligence, and they'll be able to tell you're acting nervous, you're acting shifty. So like I said, first we can tell you're young, then you go around, you try and pass your ID, and you're not looking at the bouncer's eyes, he's talking to you, you're not staring into his eyes, you're kind of looking down, trying to hide your face a little bit. And then if they ask you, they can start asking you questions and, where do you live or what's your current address? And the address doesn't match what you have at home or whatever, it looks funny. We can tell. But the next thing is that like I said, one, we can tell if you're young. If you look young, you're going to get extra scrutiny, even if you're of age. That's just par for the course. You act nervous. Even before you get to the bouncer, you start acting nervous. But then when you pass your ID, and we can start asking you questions, and if you start nervously answering them, once again, that's probably a fake ID. But then once we have the ID in our hands, we can tell that the ID is fake because we handle thousands of IDs. At our club, right, our bouncers would handle a couple hundred IDs per night. Depending on how busy his night is, sometimes over 1,000 IDs, depending on what position a bouncer is working in. So I've been in positions where I would handle over 1,000 IDs in one night by myself, right? We had 6,000, 7,000 people showing up that night. I mean, you're going through tons of IDs. You're touching those IDs, you could feel like fake money. You can tell that it's also something's wrong with this ID. It doesn't feel like a normal, New York State ID or whatever. So that's why those people out there that use fake IDs that are out of state fake IDs, that definitely helps, right? Because the chances that a bouncer in New York City has ever touched an Indiana ID, pretty difficult, right? They may not know. But that Indiana ID, that fake ID from other states, that's going to get extra scrutiny, because then the bouncer is going to say, I'm not familiar with this ID. They might have another bouncer check it, right? A more seasoned guy like a supervisor or manager, or they might take that ID and just run it through one of those card readers, right? That'll tell you if it's fake or not. So obviously using its out-of-state fake ID it's a pretty good tactic, but if they got sophisticated technology or a well-seasoned manager, you're going to be screwed, right? You're not going to get by with it. So if you use a fake in-state ID, like in my case, being a New Yorker, if somebody passed me a New York City, a New York State driver's license with an address in Manhattan or an address somewhere in New York City, then it wouldn't, they might be able to get it past me. But if once I have it in my hands and I feel it, I could feel that something, I could just tell that it's fake, the way that they're printed, the way that they're made. I don't know how fake IDs are made, right? But you could probably find a YouTube video explaining how they're made and all that, but you can just tell physically that something's just not right with it. The other thing is that you could take it and you can rip it. It just feels a little flimsy. I'm not sure if it's printed on some kind of plastic or something, but you can actually rip an ID, a fake ID. A real ID, you can't rip it. And so I'll tell you guys a story. And that's pretty much, those are the main things, right? We can tell that you're nervous. We can tell that the ID is flimsy. It doesn't feel right, like fake money or something. It just doesn't feel right. And that's how we can spot your fake IDs. So I'll tell you a story. We had a show, and it was myself and another guy watching the front door. It wasn't that busy of a night, it was a couple hundred, maybe a couple. Yeah, it was like maybe 1,000 people showed up. It was kind of a smaller band was playing, so it wasn't anything crazy. And so we had a couple of people coming in, and we had this one kid come, and it didn't help that he was already acting like an asshole. I think he might have had a couple of drinks in him. I couldn't tell his age because, as you'll find out, his ID was fake anyways. But yeah, this kid was already like acting like an asshole. Kind of arrogant, kind of rude to us. So definitely not fucking smart. Then he passes us his ID. And I get this ID, and I immediately could tell just by touching it, I already tell I didn't like this kid. Probably wasn't going to let him in just because he was acting like an asshole. But holding his ID, I could tell, okay, this is fake. And, I'm talking with this kid. I'm like, why are you being such a dick? Why are you acting like this? And he's just drunkenly, fuck you. Just let me in the club. I bought my ticket. I'm going in. And I said, I don't think you're coming in here, man. You got a fake ID. I'm going to let you in. He goes, what are you talking about? That is my ID. And I said, no, it's not. And you're not getting it back. Because we wouldn't want to give back somebody their fake ID so they could use it again on us or at another club. It's a crime already to have a fake ID. We could call the police and have them fuck with the kid, scare him, put him in handcuffs, give him a ticket, whatever that offense was at the time. Whatever level of offense it was to have a fake ID. But The kid started saying, listen, give me back my fucking ID. That's my ID. And I said, nah, fuck you. We're not giving you back your ID. And he wouldn't like leave us alone. And he just kept fucking standing there, bugging us, annoying the hell out of me. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm just gonna smash this fucking kid, right? We just wanna grab him, fucking throw him out of our faces. And I said, you know what? I said, I'll give you back your fucking ID. And I took his ID, and this is where I found out. You just fucking tear that motherfucker, you just tear it up in little pieces and flung it in his face. And that little fuck was all, oh, fuck you, blah, 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 blah. So I fucking grabbed him by his neck and fucking, boom, threw him out. He's already out on the sidewalk. I fucking threw his ass into the gutter, and I said, get the fuck out of here. And that was it. He schlubbed off by his own, lost, drunk or whatever his issue was, and without his fake ID. And, looking back on it, do I regret it? No, I don't. I've been into situations like that when I was younger where I had to get, I had to have somebody to kind of wake me up to the reality of the situation. I could have been a real dick and arrested the kid or had him arrested, turned over his fake ID to the NYPD. And I went to court a lot for a lot of the arrests that I dealt with, and showed up to court and, ruined this kid's life, got him a record and all that. Nah, just tossed him around a little bit, ripped up his ID. And, hopefully he learned two things from that. A, don't have a fake ID. B, don't be drunk. C, don't be an asshole to authority. Because if there were cops, they could have, they could have escalated it and he could have been arrested. We could have escalated it and gotten him arrested. So we didn't hurt him too bad. Definitely his pride was hurt. His night was ruined. But too bad, you're underage and you're drunk. And, I hope that kid made it home safe. And I hope he never got hurt, from drinking too much. At least with us, he learned a tough lesson, but it could have been a lot worse. So don't use fake IDs, kids.